Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a new video. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a maintenance video tonight. We're going to be replacing the spark plugs. Now, I recommend doing them every 15 to 20,000 miles, especially if you're tuned. You want to do them obviously more often than not. When you're tuned, you're pushing out more power and everything, so you want a good spark with your spark plugs, and they tend to wear out a little bit quicker when you're pushing a little bit more power. For me, I do it every 15 to 20,000 miles. I'm right at that 15,000 mark. I'm at 32,000 miles. I think the last time I changed them was around 15 or 16. So I'm kind of right in that area where I should change them. Now that the car is kind of sitting in the garage over the winter, I figured now's a good time to do it. So the ones that I always go with are NGK LFR7AIX. Now these are recommended. They're very popular. A lot of Subaru guys use them. I mean, a lot of people in general, but these are indeed the one-step colder plugs. I'll go over in a bit what that means. But these were recommended by Chris from Brand Tuning. I hit him up. I said, what do you recommend, any specific spark plugs? And sure enough, he recommended the same ones that I, typically use. One step colder basically just means the actual gap is smaller. Now, supposedly these come pre-gapped at 0.032, and I'm going to check that to make sure. I asked Chris from Brand Tuning what his recommended spark plug gap is and what he prefers on his cars that he tunes and everything, and just what works best. And he recommended anywhere from 0.026 to 0.028. Now, like I said, these supposedly are pre-gapped at 0.032. What I'm going to do is probably bring them down to 0.028. So I'm going to go on the higher end of that just in case, I don't want to bring it all the way down, but I'm going to close the gap a little bit. So we'll see if these are actually pre-gapped at the 32 that, they say on the website and basically everywhere else. I have a feeling they're probably a little bit smaller than that. And the way for me to do that is I actually bought a Torque Solutions spark plug gap tool. I also got a feeler gauge with it. So this way I'll be able to actually find out exactly what they're gapped at. And if I need to close them, which I most likely will, I have a tool here, which I'll show you how to use in a little bit. These were about 42 bucks. This was about 40 bucks. So 80 bucks, you obviously don't have to buy this every time you do a spark plug change. So this is something that I'll have forever. It's a very cheap maintenance mod to do. So I recommend doing them as often as possible. If you want to do it every 5 or 10,000 miles, so be it. Obviously it is known on a Subaru that it's not hard work, but just a pain in the butt. Typically spark plugs are usually on top, but since this is a boxer motor, the pistons and everything on the side, the spark plugs and everything that you need to gain access to is on the side of the block. So there's 2 here, and we come over here, and there's 2 here. Now, I don't think I'm gonna do a full walkthrough or do it yourself of how to do this. There's so many videos on YouTube for that. I really don't think I can make a better video, explaining everything. There's some really good tutorials. Tanner, I'm sure you guys are familiar with him, Smedia. He has a very great tutorial that I've actually watched a few times as well before I've done this. Basically I'm following the same exact method that he does. So what I'm personally going to do is remove the battery, the secondary air pump here. I'm gonna have to remove my Cobb Redline intake. Super simple. It's actually probably easier to remove than the stock air box and everything. And then I will be able to gain access to where the spark plugs are. So, I'm not gonna do it on camera, taking everything out, but I'll catch back up with you once I get everything cleaned up and out of the way, and we can get going on the spark plugs. All right, guys, so we got the battery out, the secondary air pump right there, the intake as well. So we got ample room to get everything done. I'll try to show you, kind of hard to see, it's dark, but there's a coil pack right there and one right behind it as well. A little dark, but same thing. I believe they're 12mm bolts. So we're just gonna undo them, slide them out, and then we'll be able to get access to the spark plug. On the other side, same thing. There's a coil pack right there, and then one right behind it. That one's a little bit, there's a couple of wires in the way, but same thing, 12mm bolts, slide them out. So this is the things that you want to take out just to gain access to the spark plugs. Like I said, it's not hard at all. It's just a pain in the butt because you got to remove all this stuff. Not that it was a lot, but I mean, you get what I mean, as opposed to just doing it on top. Every single time I look at this intake or take it out or anything like that, this thing is just absolutely beautiful. I freaking love this intake. So if you're looking for one, it's a little expensive, but I promise you it's worth it. I'm gonna start on the driver's side here, pop these coil packs out. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to really get any good light in there to really get any angles, but I'll try. So once we pop those out, we'll get to the spark plugs and we'll check the gaps on those as well. I would like to see what they're gapped at currently. Even though they have about 16,000 miles on them, I'm really curious to see what they're gapped at. But this is fun. It's one of those things that you do on the car that I actually enjoy. You know, it's simple enough. You can't really screw it up too bad. Some better light so you can see the coil pack. So this is where we're at. And we'll zoom in here. Got some better lighting. So the 12mm bolt there and a 12 there. Good God. Wow, that was actually the hardest part is actually just getting your hands and tools into the place you need to be. It's literally the frame rail is right on the side of where the coil packs and the spark plugs are. So a huge pain in the butt. It took, I don't even know. It took a while. It took about an hour just to get everything out of the car. Just figuring out different extensions and different lengths and different ratchets and stuff. It took just about all this to get them out, you know, figuring out a good way to, you know, get them out safely and not hit the rail and everything. I would really recommend getting a swivel attachment. That would really help in this situation. But I got them all out, so let's take a look at each one, see how they're looking. They're all very similar. This is the driver's side, this is the passenger side, front, back. So they all look very similar. I'll get a little bit more close-ups once we kind of, you know, dig into it a little bit, but I'm gonna take a little bit of break. Jeez, that absolutely destroyed me. Just bending over in the engine bay for a while is it's no fun. So, all right, I'll get back to you in a minute. The tips look similar. There's no, nothing's broken or looking abnormal. Obviously they're dirty and everything, but there's no oil on them. I made sure on that. So, you know, they're just dirty. Same thing with the passenger side. Everything looks nice and even. You know, these have about 20,000 miles or so on 15 or 20. I forget when I changed it last, but yeah, so everything looks good. I mean, they're definitely ready to be changed. So let's take the feel gauge and see what these are gapped at currently. Obviously they're used, but I'm just curious to see where they're at. So let's do that next. All right, so this is most likely the ones that we're gonna check because it's probably gonna be around this area. So we're looking at 0.032, 0.030, or 0.08. Well, let's check. Let's do 32 first. No, not 32. Let's try 30. Okay. So that slipped in. So it looks like we're at 0.30. This is 0.028. There's a little bit of play. So it looks like they're gapped at +30, or at least that's where they're at currently. It's a little tight, but definitely fits. So let's check the other ones real quick. This is 0.030. Yeah, that one's a little tight. Okay, so yeah, it's probably about 29 for that one. So, I mean, they're all going to relatively be around the same. That was 28, 30, fits. Yeah, they're all about 0.030, 0.029, so it's around that range. So let's check the new ones and see what they're gapped at currently. All right, so this is one of the new ones. Let's check it out, see what it's gapped at. Let's try 30 first. Okay, so that fits. It's a little tight. 0. This is 28. That definitely fits a little better. A little play. The 30 is pretty tight, yeah. Yeah, I'd probably say 29, so I'll probably bump this down to 28. So all I'm gonna do is take my spark plug gapping tool, screw it into the bottom here. Now I'm gonna I wanna bring it down to 28, so I'm gonna put the 30 away so I don't get confused. So as you can see, it's 0.028. I'm gonna slide it. I'm gonna slide it in, and I'm just gonna screw it down. close the gap. So that closed it a little bit. It's a nice, you know, it's not too tight or anything. It fits really nice in there, so good. So this one's gapped at 0.028 currently. All right, so I'm gonna go along, finish the other two, then we'll get to installing them on the car. So we are ready to go. These are gapped at 0.028, all of them. You know, it's not super tight, but it's a really good fit. So everything is perfectly even. So I'm gonna go in the same order that I uninstalled them. I did this one, this one, this one, and then this one. The back ones are the toughest, just because there's not much room at all. I found this one to be the easiest. And that one was so-so. Now that I kind of have an idea of how, you know, they all go in and out, it may go a little bit faster, at least I'm hoping. So let's start with this one in the front on the driver's side. All right, guys, holy jeez, that was, I think I take back what I said in the beginning where this was a fun little install. Yeah, I mean, it was a good time. I enjoyed it. Honestly, the hardest part is just getting tools in your hands into the actual places where the spark plugs are. You know, otherwise, I mean, you're literally just screwing things out and screwing them back in. It's such a simple concept. Like I said, doing a motor where they're on the top, super simple job. It would probably take, you know, 7 minutes. But this took about two and a half hours or so, you know, plus I was filming and everything, so maybe a little bit longer. There's not really any tips other than I would recommend getting some swivel joints. That would help tremendously, just because you don't have to shove down a ratchet into the actual, you know, next to the frame rail. And having that swivel will kind of allow you to have more access and get bigger wrenches in there and just be a little bit easier. So I definitely recommend doing that. I didn't obviously have any on hand, unfortunately. So I guess it took a little bit longer for me because I didn't have those. But if you're planning to do this yourself, highly recommend getting some swivel joints. It will help a lot. Now, another tip, I guess, is the coil packs. Getting them back in can be tough, but if you're having trouble, especially on the passenger rear here, as well as the driver rear, and I believe this one as well, is, you know, the screw is on this side. To put them back in, you just want to flip the coil pack over, then it slides in, and then turn it over like that. I was gonna show you on camera, but honestly, I was so beat and so over filming at that point that I didn't end up recording it. But if you're in the middle of it, you'll understand totally what I mean. You know, it goes in like this with the bolt on this side. So basically you just wanna flip it over so the bolt is facing towards the front of the car, slip it in, and then turn it over and plug it back in. But yeah, I mean, that's the install. I'm so happy that is done. You know, that has been on my shoulders for a long time now. I was going to go to a shop and get it done just because I honestly didn't feel like doing the work. But now that I did it, I'm glad I did. I saved the money. It only cost 40, 45 bucks as opposed to, I think, shops and the dealer charge about 100, 120, 150, depending on where you go. So I definitely saved myself a few bucks, you know, around 100 bucks or so, which is nice. More money for mods. But yeah, I mean, that concludes the spark plug change on my 2017 STI. Like I said in the beginning, I recommend doing it every 15 to 20,000 miles. You can wait till 30, but I mean, why? There's really no point. It's only 40 bucks. You might as well get it done sooner. And real quick, before I end this video, just to kind of show you guys, if you don't expect to get some blood knuckles and blood hands on an EJ25 spark plug change, then you're obviously not changing spark plugs, because there's no getting around not getting some blood hands, because this is there's not much room to work. So, but yeah, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask below. I'll be happy to answer. I will link everything I use in this video for this install down in the description. So if you are interested, you can pick up the exact same things that I did. I hope to catch you in the next video. In the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you in the next one.